Zyratich of the Crinari did not fear much. She was a decorated warrior of the Galactic Dominion, renowned across star systems for her inhuman strength and near-mythical victories in the arena. Her claws had torn through the fiercest opponents from 10 different worlds, her strategy unmatched, and her reputation alone had cowed entire colonies into submission. On her homeworld, the Crinari warriors trained under the twin suns of Vale Core, where the air-scorched lungs and jagged obsidian cliffs tested balance and endurance. Only those who could leap across molten fissures, dodge falling rocks, and survive days with minimal sustenance were allowed to enter the arena of ascendance. Zyratich had not just survived, she had dominated. And today, she stood inside the arena, the crowd of thousands roaring, their excitement feeding her confidence, facing something she never expected. A human. The creature looked small, frail even, compared to the towering, armored Crinari. His limbs were unremarkable, his armor mismatched and dented, and his gaze, well, it was bold in a way that almost made her pause. Almost. The human grinned. Not fearfully. Not in submission. He grinned as if the 2 suns of Vale Core were nothing, as if the roar of 10,000 spectators was irrelevant. Zyratich's claws flexed, resonating with a faint metallic hum from the energy embedded in her gauntlets. "You dare enter the arena!" she hissed, her voice a growl laced with disdain. "Do you not know who I am? I am Zyratich. I have crushed warriors from 5 star systems before breakfast." The human tilted his head, still smiling. "Heard the stories," he said casually. "Figured I'd see if they're true." The crowd erupted. Zyratich's eyes narrowed. A tiny human, challenging the legendary champion? Ridiculous. She could hear her opponents' hearts pounding through the arena floor. Weak, small, and utterly insignificant. Yet, even as she prepared to strike, the human moved with a strange confidence. He didn't retreat. He didn't beg. He simply stood, shoulders back, ready. There was something unnatural about it. Zyratich lunged, claws cutting through the air with terrifying speed, each swing a calculated strike designed to end life before the first heartbeat. The human sidestepped, barely moving, and for a moment, she thought it impossible. How could a being so small evade strikes that had torn apart beings twice his size? The crowd's roar faltered. A whisper of doubt rippled through the stands. He laughed. Not fearfully. Not nervously. He laughed. And in that instant, Zyratich felt a flicker of something unfamiliar, a challenge she had never faced, a presence she could not dominate with brute strength alone. Today, the champion faced more than a human. She faced a species that refused to yield, a creature whose resilience defied logic, and a will so unbroken it threatened to shake the foundations of her confidence. The arena fell silent. For the first time, the Crinari warrior understood, this fight would not be simple. This human was unlike any opponent she had faced. And maybe, just maybe, he could survive. Across the arena stood Ethan Cross. No heavy armor. No exotic weapon. No dazzling energy gauntlets or bone-crushing claws like the rest of Zyratich's opponents. Just a plain, durable tunic, scuffed boots, and a calm expression that never wavered. He looked ordinary. And that annoyed her. Zyratich's golden eyes narrowed as she circled him, claws scraping against the polished stone floor of the arena. The Crinari champion had torn apart beings twice Ethan's size, but here he stood, shoulders squared, unflinching under the twin suns and the roaring crowd. His ordinary frame seemed almost fragile in comparison to her towering form and the rippling muscles honed for war. "Do you not understand the meaning of fear, human?" Zyratich hissed, her voice carrying across the arena like a whip of intent. "You stand before a champion of the Dominion, a conqueror of 10 star systems. One strike from me, one mistake, and your life ends." Ethan didn't flinch, didn't shift. He simply met her gaze with steady, unshakable calm. There was no arrogance, no bravado, just a quiet confidence that made her claws twitch in irritation. "Well," he said lightly, "I'm hoping I'm a fast learner." The words, so casual, so human, sent a ripple of shock through the stands. Spectators whispered. The announcers froze mid-breath. Even some of Zyratich's own crew blinked. How could such an ordinary creature speak with such composure in the presence of a living legend? Ordinary. That was the word that gnawed at her pride. Ordinary, yet somehow unyielding. No flashy tech, no genetically enhanced muscles, no psychic shields. Yet he radiated a calm that defied logic. She lunged instinctively, claws swinging, expecting fear, panic, or at least a flinch, but he moved with precise timing, sidestepping the strike as if he had anticipated it. Not extraordinary speed. Not unnatural reflexes. Just human adaptability. Observation, calculation, patience. Zyra TH growled in frustration, circling faster, slashing, feinting, testing him. Each attack was met with calm evasion, minimal movement, and occasional verbal quips that she couldn't understand but recognized as confidence. "Not bad for a human," he said, ducking under a particularly wide arc. "But I'm just getting started." That simplicity, that calm defiance, unnerved her. In all her years, all her battles, no opponent had faced her with such unshakable composure. The larger, stronger, faster species had always panicked eventually. Humans, apparently they did not. Zyra TH realized, with a flicker of unease, that she wasn't just fighting a human body. She was fighting human will. Ordinary form. Extraordinary resolve. And in that moment, as the crowd's cheers merged with whispers of disbelief, she understood something vital: underestimate this species at your peril. Ethan Cross didn't look like a hero. He didn't look like a threat. And that made him terrifying. The arena fell into a tense hush, both champion and challenger poised, waiting for the next move. Today, ordinary would prove extraordinary. "Human!" Zyra TH growled, claws scraping the polished floor as sparks flew from the edge of her energy gauntlets. She stepped forward, each movement radiating power, dominance, and the kind of arrogance only a champion of the galactic dominion could wield. "I challenge you," she proclaimed, voice amplified by the arena's resonant acoustics. "One-on-one combat. Prove your species belongs in the galaxy." A hush fell over the stands. Thousands of spectators froze mid-cheer. Across the universe, holographic feeds projected the moment live to billions of viewers on distant worlds. Every eye watched, every system waited, for the instant humanity would either rise or shatter beneath alien might. Ethan Cross didn't flinch. He simply squared his shoulders, letting his calm, ordinary presence fill the space between them. The heat from the twin suns glinted off Zyra TH's armor, but his expression never wavered, not even when her claws flexed, humming with lethal energy. "You," she snarled, circling him, "you dare stand before me? I have crushed warriors from 5 systems before breakfast. Your species is insignificant, frail, weak." Ethan tilted his head slightly, a smirk tugging at his lips. "Well, that's comforting," he said. "I was starting to worry you might underestimate me." The arena erupted into murmurs again. The alien spectators' voices carried disbelief. Human fans across dozens of planets erupted in cheers and frantic exclamations. Even Zyra TH's own allies stiffened at the audacity of this tiny, ordinary creature. "You mock me," she hissed, claws flexing closer. "Do you not understand the magnitude of this fight? Fail, and your species will be remembered only as a footnote, a warning to those who dare oppose the Dominion." "I understand perfectly," Ethan replied, voice steady. "And I figure a footnote beats disappearing entirely, right? Besides," he raised an eyebrow, "I've got a habit of defying odds. Works for me." Zyra TH's eyes narrowed, glowing patterns along her ridges flickering with irritation. She struck forward with blinding speed, claws cutting through the air in a strike meant to end him before the first heartbeat passed. Yet Ethan stepped aside, not lightning fast, not superhuman, but precise, patient, and deliberate. The crowd gasped. Even the holographic billions froze in awe. How could an ordinary human evade the champion of the galaxy? "You are persistent," Zyra TH growled, circling again, testing him, striking at angles designed to overwhelm and intimidate. "Persistence will not save you. Strength, skill, and instinct. These are the tools of survival. Tools your species lacks." Ethan's grin widened, a spark of that stubborn human defiance lighting his features. "Maybe. Or maybe we just use different tools. Humor, stubbornness, a little luck. Works surprisingly well." The murmurs grew louder. Analysts, viewers, and warriors across the galaxy leaned closer to the holographic feeds. Humanity's moment had come, and against impossible odds, this ordinary human was holding ground. Not with brute force. Not with alien precision. With courage, cleverness, and an unshakable will. Zareta's pride flared. She could smell it, taste it, feel it, the sting of doubt creeping into her legendary confidence. For the first time in countless battles, the champion realized something terrifying. Defeating this human would not be easy. Not because he was stronger, faster, or armed with exotic weapons, but because he was human. And humans never gave up. The arena crackled with tension. One-on-one combat had been called. And somewhere in the roar of thousands and the silent gaze of billions, the galaxy waited to see if humanity would rise. The duel began. Zareth lunged first, claws slicing through the air with a sound like thunder, sparks cascading off the polished arena floor. Her movements were a blur of strength and precision, honed over countless battles, each strike designed to end life before the human could even blink. Ethan Cross didn't flinch. Instead, he shifted slightly, letting the rhythm of her attacks guide him. Step aside. Duck. Pivot. Each movement measured, economical, almost annoyingly simple in its efficiency. Precise. Untouchable. The crowd gasped. Thousands in the arena. Millions watching across the stars. No one had ever faced Zareth and survived the first minute unscathed. Yet this human, ordinary, unarmored, underestimated, danced around her lethal strikes with uncanny timing. She growled, claws swiping, energy humming, trying to anticipate his next move. You dare evade me? Her voice was rage incarnate, reverberating through the stands. I am Zareth, the champion of the Dominion. No creature has ever defied me. Ethan smiled faintly, dodging another swipe that would have torn through any other opponent. Not defying, he said calmly. Just surviving. And learning. Zareth froze for a fraction of a heartbeat. What did he mean by learning? She had trained to adapt, to read every motion, to anticipate every pattern. Yet this human wasn't predictable. Every step, every dodge, every subtle pivot defied her expectations. He wasn't fast in the way Krenari were fast. He wasn't strong. But he was clever. Observant. Adaptive. Every attack she threw was met with a reaction that wasn't instinct, it was calculation. The alien champion attacked again, a spinning strike meant to overwhelm him, claws glowing like molten steel. Ethan sidestepped, his footwork precise, almost casual, as if he had rehearsed it countless times. She lashed out again, her talons cutting arcs through the air that could split mountains, and he slipped between them like water finding its path. Curious, Zareth muttered, momentarily halting. She studied him, noticing the subtle patterns of his defense. Not random. Not panic. Strategy. Patience. Human ingenuity in its purest form. He smirked. You're predictable, he said. Not in style, not in skill, but in arrogance. You expect everyone to fear you. I don't. I observe. The crowd roared, some in disbelief, some in exhilaration. Analysts across star systems took frantic notes. Humanity's champion, ordinary, underestimated, was surviving, outmaneuvering, and even taunting the greatest fighter in the Dominion. Zareth's golden eyes narrowed, pulse quickening, pride and frustration warring. Each strike she launched was met with calm evasion, and each evasion chipped at the certainty she had carried into the arena for decades. He wasn't just surviving. He was teaching her patience. He was forcing her to respect ingenuity over brute force. And that realization stung. Every time she struck, he stepped aside. Precise. Untouchable. And somewhere deep in the roaring stands, somewhere across the galaxy, a single truth crystallized. Humans were not just resilient. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were clever. And no amount of claws, armor, or arrogance could prepare Zareth for that. Then the human moved. It was barely noticeable at first, a single step, measured, unassuming, almost casual. Ethan Cross shifted his weight forward, and in one fluid motion, his hand reached out. One small strike. Just a tap. His hand tapped her armor. The sound was subtle, a mere click at first, but the effect was instantaneous. Zareth froze mid-lunge, claws half-raised, energy humming along her gauntlets. A violent shockwave pulsed through her body, armor trembling under the unexpected force. She staggered back, disbelief flickering across her multifaceted eyes. The arena fell silent. Thousands of spectators, alien, human, and everything in between, stared, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Millions across the galaxy paused their feeds. Even analysts who had studied Zyra-TH's battles for decades struggled to find a precedent. "Impossible," she hissed, claws flexing as she recovered, but her voice quivered with something she had never experienced before: uncertainty. Ethan's expression didn't change. Ordinary. A small, knowing smirk tugged at his lips. "See," he said lightly. "I told you. Humans find ways to survive." The Krenari champion's glowing ridges flickered faster, a nervous energy she didn't understand. She had dominated every opponent, predicted every pattern, and yet a single tiny movement, a tap, had disrupted her balance, sent tremors through her body, and forced her to reconsider everything. What did you do?" she demanded, her voice now sharp, defensive. "Armor is designed to withstand the strongest blows from your species' weight classes. You could not." "I didn't break it," Ethan said casually. "I just found the right spot. The right angle. Sometimes, size doesn't matter. Precision does." He stepped back, still calm, still ordinary in every other sense, yet the arena vibrated with the residue of that tiny strike. Zyra-TH's claws twitched, energy flickering, her breath sharp. She realized something terrifying. Brute strength alone could no longer guarantee victory. The spectators held their collective breath. For the first time, the legendary champion of the Dominion, feared, undefeated, unstoppable, was vulnerable. Not because of overwhelming power, not because of exotic weapons, but because a single human had seen a weakness, exploited it, and imposed his will with nothing more than skill and insight. Ethan's gaze met hers, steady and unwavering. "Your arrogance almost did you in," he said. "Don't underestimate humans. We adapt. We improvise. We survive." The arena, still echoing from the shockwave, felt smaller somehow, intimate. Zyra-TH's heartbeat thundered in her chest. Not with fear, exactly, but with the realization that she was now facing something far more formidable than she had expected. One small strike. That was all it had taken to shift the balance. The human was ordinary, calm, unassuming. Yet he had just reminded the galaxy, and Zyra-TH herself, that humanity's true power was not in muscle, armor, or claws. It was in ingenuity, in courage, in refusing to back down, no matter the odds. And in that instant, the champion understood, humans could change the outcome of any fight. The arena fell silent. Because humanity had just spoken. Zyra-TH's claws hovered inches from Ethan's chest, energy humming along their edges. She narrowed her eyes, golden patterns rippling with irritation and disbelief. "What are you?" she demanded, voice sharp as the crackle of electricity in the arena. "How can one so small be so untouchable?" Ethan shrugged slightly, leaning back on the balls of his feet. "Just human," he said, almost casually, as if that explained everything. "Just human." Zyra-TH's voice rose an octave. "I have crushed entire species before breakfast. You survive by luck alone." He gestured calmly toward the arena floor. "Luck's part of it, sure. But it's mostly biology and experience. We evolved on a death world." The words made her pause. A death world? She had read records of hostile human home planets, of course, but the legend of humans surviving and thriving in near-impossible conditions had always seemed exaggerated. "Explain," she demanded, claws flexing slightly, though her stance was less aggressive now, curiosity creeping through her arrogance. He smiled faintly. "High gravity. Violent storms. Predators everywhere." His voice was calm, measured. "Everything on our planet tries to kill us. Hurricanes, earthquakes, apex predators, diseases that can wipe out most other species. Starvation, extreme weather, constant danger. That's the world we call home." Zyra-TH blinked, processing the meaning behind his words. "And you survived this?" "Yeah," he said, shrugging again. "We adapted. Learned to think fast, move smarter, and use our brains more than our claws. Survival isn't about raw power, It's about strategy, endurance, and ingenuity. Every human you faced, everyone you underestimated, we've all inherited a little bit of that. That's why I'm still standing. The champion's golden eyes narrowed, glowing ridges flickering with unease. So you claim your species survives because of... She paused, trying to find a word in her language. Environmental brutality? Weak. Insignificant. Exactly, Ethan said, smirking faintly. We're supposed to be weak, slow, easy to break. But life didn't let us stay that way. The planet made us cunning, tough, and relentless. You hit me with power, and I'll dodge. You think too fast, I'll find the angle. You aim to intimidate, I'll exploit your pride. We don't just survive, we find a way to thrive. Zyratich's claws twitched, her pulse racing. She had faced titans, genetically enhanced soldiers, and war beasts bred to crush. None of them had forced her to rethink strategy mid-fight. Yet here, before her eyes, one human, ordinary, calm, unassuming, stood, reasoning like a predator, moving like a shadow, exploiting every small advantage. So, Ethan said quietly, when you underestimate a human, remember what we're built for. We're born on a planet that wants us dead. Everything tries to kill us. And we adapt. We survive. We win. The arena held its breath. Zyratich felt a tremor of respect, and something she didn't understand, creeping into her pride. For the first time, she realized, this wasn't luck. This wasn't chance. This was human. And humans were terrifying. She attacked one final time. Zyratich's claws blazed with energy, swinging in a strike meant to crush, to tear, to end. Every fiber of her being focused on annihilation. The crowd held its breath, the galaxy watching, expecting the inevitable, the fall of the human challenger. Ethan Cross stood perfectly still. Calm. Ordinary. Waiting. The moment her weapon descended, he moved, not with superhuman speed, not with preternatural reflex, but with calculated precision born from a lifetime on a death world. His hand shot out. He caught the weapon effortlessly. Metal groaned under his grip, energy humming against his fingers, heat flaring along the edge. Zyrat froze, eyes wide. Her claws, built to tear through the toughest of alien armor, were trapped in the grip of a single ordinary human. Then, it shattered. The weapon fractured with a deafening crack, shards flying across the arena floor. Sparks rained down, hitting the walls and eliciting gasps that echoed through the stands. Zyratich stumbled back, instinctively flexing her claws to counter, but there was nothing left to strike with. The crowd went silent. Thousands of spectators froze. Millions across the galaxy held their breath. Even Zyratich's own allies stopped cheering, stunned into disbelief. Ethan didn't even blink. His expression remained calm, almost casual, as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. "Looks like we're done here," he said lightly, brushing the fragments of metal from his hands. Zyratich stared at him, golden eyes widening. She had trained, fought, and dominated across countless worlds. Nothing had ever disarmed her. Nothing had ever reduced her legendary status to shock and awe. Until now. You are human," she breathed, claws trembling, not from fear exactly, but from the realization that she had been thoroughly, undeniably outmatched. Not because he was stronger, faster, or more violent, but because he was clever, adaptive, and utterly fearless in the face of impossible odds. "Yes," Ethan said, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Human. We're adaptable. Resilient. Annoying as hell when you think brute force is enough." The arena erupted, slowly at first, then with a crescendo of cheers, applause, and incredulous gasps. Spectators from every corner of the galaxy celebrated the impossible. An ordinary human had dominated the champion of the Dominion. Zyratich staggered, her pride wounded far more than her body. She realized something profound. This was not just about strength or skill. It was about determination, ingenuity, the stubbornness, humor, and courage that humans carried into every impossible situation. The human had not even tried to fight seriously. And yet, victory was absolute. Ethan lowered his hands, expression calm, eyes steady. "Guess that makes me the victor," he said quietly. The crowd erupted into a deafening roar, but somewhere in the chaos, across billions of screens, one truth became clear. underestimate humans at your peril. Zyra Th, legendary, undefeated, unstoppable, had learned that lesson in the arena. Humans were ordinary. Humans were underestimated. Humans were dangerous. And humans never gave up. The arena fell silent once more. Not from fear. From respect. For humanity. Slowly, Zyra Th lowered herself to one knee, her claws retracting with deliberate care. The hum of energy faded from her gauntlets, and for the first time, her golden eyes no longer glimmered with pride or arrogance. They shimmered with something far more profound: respect. "I concede," she said, her voice steady but carrying the weight of countless victories and battles across the galaxy. "Humanity has earned its place." The arena erupted in a roar unlike anything anyone had heard before. Thousands of spectators leapt to their feet, cheering and shouting. Across the stars, billions of viewers paused their broadcasts, repeating what they had just witnessed. A single human had faced the champion of the Dominion, and survived, victorious, unyielding, and unbroken. Ethan Cross didn't gloat. He didn't raise his fists or declare triumph. He simply stepped forward and offered a hand, calm and steady, to help Zyra Th rise. She hesitated for a heartbeat, then took it. Her grip was firm, almost overwhelming, but he met it without flinching. In that simple gesture, years of rivalry, arrogance, and pride melted into understanding. The human had proven that courage, ingenuity, and resilience were just as lethal as claws, armor, or genetically enhanced muscles. The crowd roared again, a mixture of astonishment, respect, and admiration. Alien spectators who had once jeered at humans now whispered among themselves, reassessing everything they thought they knew. Humanity had not only survived, they had prevailed. Ethan gave a small nod, brushing dust from his tunic. "Looks like we're even," he said lightly. "And maybe a little ahead." Zyra Th inclined her head, bioluminescent ridges flickering softly, a subtle sign of acknowledgement in her culture. "You are unlike anything I have faced," she admitted quietly. "Your species adapts, persists, survives against impossible odds. You are worthy of the galaxy's respect." Across the galaxy, a new truth spread. Humans were not fragile newcomers, not insignificant pawns in the grand schemes of empires and dominions. They were survivors of a death world, shaped by adversity, tempered by danger, and strengthened by ingenuity. Planets took note. Armadas reconsidered their strategies. Diplomats whispered. Leaders paused. A single human, ordinary in appearance, extraordinary in spirit, had rewritten expectations for an entire species. And in the stands of the arena, Zyra Th and Ethan stood together, a living testament to what courage, determination, and the refusal to yield could accomplish. The stars themselves seemed to hum with recognition. Humanity had earned its place, not through domination, not through brute strength, but through the qualities that defined them at their core: cleverness, resilience, and the indomitable will to survive. For the first time, many species realized that Earthlings were not to be underestimated. Not now, not ever. And as the crowd continued to cheer, Ethan glanced at Zyra Th and gave a small, wry smile. "Guess we're changing the galaxy's opinion of humans," he said lightly. She tilted her head, her gaze steady, and for once, no words were needed. Respect had been earned. Recognition had been granted. And the stars themselves whispered the same truth. Humans were survivors. Humans were clever. Humans were unstoppable. And from this day forward, the galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.